to episode 6 of Hate to See It with Mike and Sid. We've made it, episode 6, pretty exciting. Last week was our most viewed episode ever. I think we currently have 125 views on YouTube. It may not seem like a lot, but for us, it's pretty cool. And we want to continue increasing those views. So thank you for tuning in. We actually now have a TikTok. We have a Twitter. We want to put our media out to more places so you guys can easily find cool clips from our show. Check it out. The TikTok is Hate to See It Show. We'll mention the Twitter as well as the TikTok on our YouTube channel so you guys can easily find it. But I want to thank you guys. Thank you for watching. I want to thank my boss who tuned in last week for the first time. He loved it, except for the part when I mentioned I was distracted at work, but whatever. But either way, thank you for joining us. Really cool. How's it going, Mike? What's good?
Sid, I'm doing great today. I've been really looking forward to this episode all week. I think last week we had a really good episode. I think we're really starting to find our groove. We have an exciting topic today on the Marvel Cinematic Universe and WandaVision. We're going to do our weekly Hate to See It, Love to See It segment to kick off the show. But first, I just want to have a little chat. Earlier today, I was watching a little bit of the PGA Tour. As you know, I'm a golf fan. I play golf as well. And I was watching my favorite golfer, Jordan Spieth, and he teed off on the second tee. And I just want to show our viewers what happened because I thought it was pretty cool.
And I haven't seen it, so I'm excited to see what happened.
Okay.
And actually, I never knew he was your favorite, so that's cool to know, Mike.
Yes.
Yeah, this is something we're trying to experiment with, sharing screens, but let's see what Mike has in store for us.
All right, can you see it?
Yep, looks good. Wow.
And there you have it.
So what is that? That's a hole-in-one. Hole-in-one.
That was a hole-in-one. Now, for the amateur golfer, a hole-in-one is an extremely rare event. Just one second. I'm getting back into Zoom.
No worries.
Yeah, it's an extremely rare event for an amateur golfer. Many golfers will never hit a hole-in-one in their entire life. My dad's been playing golf his entire life. He's never hit a hole-in-one. I've never hit a hole-in-one. My brother's never hit a hole-in-one. I do know some people have hit hole-in-ones. It's a big deal. Typically, the tradition is if you hit a hole-in-one, you have to buy a round of drinks for everyone in the clubhouse. Now, pros do hit hole-in-ones it's not a super rare event, believe it or not. But it's still a really exciting thing to see on live television. Jordan is a golfer who came off hot onto the scene in 2015, won 2 majors that year. He also won a major in 2017. But recently he's been struggling. But the past few tournaments, he's really started to come back. We're getting ready for the Masters. You and I are going to do an episode on the Masters in a few weeks.
Yep.
So this is just a little bit of a teaser to our viewers of what to get excited for. I think Jordan Spieth is going to be in great shape. He plays great in Augusta. I would love to see him win his second Masters. So that's a little bit of a tease of what we're going to be talking about in a few weeks.
Okay, cool. No, thanks for sharing, Mike.
Yep.
I think Johnny Mack has hit a hole-in-one. I could be wrong, but John, if you did hit one, mention that in our comments. But either way, that's cool. Maybe one day you or your dad or your brother will hit one. Who knows?
You would truly love to see it.
You would. I think I hit one in a video game back in college.
Well, that's not that rare.
I know, but it was still cool for me because I suck at golf and I suck in golf video games. So that's not a sport that I am really good at. I've tried. I have clubs thanks to John, but maybe, when you and John come out here in San Diego, we can go to that famous course Torrey Pines, and you
Yeah,
guys can give me some pointers.
it's one of the most beautiful golf courses on the planet, and you as a resident of San Diego uh, have access to that court at a much cheaper rate than the average person, and you're not even taking advantage of it. It's
I
just
know.
you hate to
You,
see it.
you hate to see it. You truly hate to see it. Cool. So this is our next episode. You want to tell us what the topic is, Mike?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we're going to be going over WandaVision, the Disney Plus series. Also, given a little bit of a preview of Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. WandaVision wrapped up its 9-episode season yesterday. You and I have not discussed our thoughts on this episode. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about it. But let's hold off for just a little bit, and why don't we do our love to see it, hate to see it segment. I think we're going to do it a little bit differently this week. You brought 3 topics to the table. I brought 3 topics to the table. We're going to go back and forth on those.
Sure.
Why don't you kick it off?
Okay, let's do it. Again, I have no clue what you've picked. You have no clue what I've picked. We may have picked the same thing. We may have to improvise, but let's see. This could be one that you might have picked as well. But we have to talk about it. Number 1, J.J. Watt signs with the Arizona Cardinals. Did you pick this?
I actually had that as one of my backups because I originally picked it, but then I was like, he's going to probably pick it. So I had 3 other ones that I wanted to. So I had it on my list, but I was going to let you have it if you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, and I was going to text you ahead of time saying, don't pick this one. But luckily it worked out. We had the same train of thought. But yeah, let's talk about it. He signed a big deal, 2-year deal with the Cardinals. What are your thoughts? Do you love to see that? Do you hate to see it? How are you feeling about that move?
I'd love to see it for J.J. Watt. I think he got a fantastic deal for himself. I think overall, I hate to see it. What is it? A $28 million 2-year deal?
I believe so. Yeah,
I think
correct.
23 million of that is guaranteed. He is 31 years old, coming off another injury. He's had several major injuries in his career. Now, J.J. Watt he's a multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year. He is a no doubt about it Hall of Famer. He's a fantastic player. He can be a game changer for the Cardinals, but that's assuming he plays. Who knows if he's going to be able to play a whole season? Who knows what kind of condition he's going to be in? And from what I heard, there wasn't really a lot of competition for his services. So it seems to me like the Cardinals really overpaid. I heard some teams saying that he was only worth $10 million a year max. Cardinals are paying him $14 million a year. Seems to me that they overpaid. Now he is reuniting with his former teammate DeAndre Hopkins, so that might have played a factor into this. But I think it seems like a questionable deal to me. So I'm gonna say hate to see it. How about you?
I also hate to see it. And you know what that means? You truly hate to see it. Hate to see it. But the reason I hate to see it is because I had no clue he'd even consider signing with the Cardinals. That they weren't even rumored to sign him. You know, the analysts, they listed 3 teams that he's definitely signing with. The Cardinals were never mentioned. No one talked about them. So obviously they had to overpay. The Steelers fan in me, I was hoping he would sign with the Steelers, even though there was no position spot available. They would have still made it work because guess what? If he signed with the Steelers, both his brothers would have been on the team. So it'd be 3 Watt brothers on Pittsburgh, which would have been really cool. And you know what? His brother TJ is the best defensive player in the NFL. And what the hell? 2 years in a row, he got robbed by the NFL. He should have won 2 years in a row now. This year, he played 1 less game because the Steelers rested him, and he had better stats than the defensive player in almost every category. But the NFL continues to rob him. I don't get it. He should have 2 by now. It's a disgrace, but you know what? He's going to be pissed. He's going to be motivated, and he's going to excel. But going back to JJ, I don't get it. You're not going to win a Super Bowl. Maybe the team will perform better. You know, they got Chandler Jones, who's really good. So now they have 2 guys who can sack. You got a young nucleus of offensive players in that team. So, yeah, it'll be exciting for them. But I really thought he'd join a team that gave him a shot to win at this point of the career. I thought maybe Green Bay. I thought maybe he'll chase a ring with Tom Brady. I thought maybe the wild card would be the Steelers if he took virtually no money. But at the end of the day, I do not like to see it. Well, best of luck. JJ. I hope it works out. Mike and
Yeah,
I don't like it.
yeah. I wish JJ the best of luck in Arizona as well. I have nothing against JJ. I think he's a great guy, but this deal just is a head scratcher to both me and Sid. We truly hate to see it. Why don't we move
All right.
on to my first topic, Sid?
Sure.
My first topic was Entertainment Weekly had a first look this week at Space Jam: A New Legacy. Did you see this first look at Entertainment Weekly?
I saw a couple of pictures on Twitter, but I didn't read too much into it. But
All right,
tell me about it.
so I'm gonna share my screen again. I'm gonna just show some pictures from the article. I am kind of just interested in your perspective on this because this movie it's not a movie that is targeted to us necessarily. Now that said,
Go on left.
yep. Can you see it?
I see it. Yep.
Okay, so um, I'm gonna hold on a second. Okay, yeah. So this is it's a kids movie. It's not targeted to us. That said, Space Jam, which came out 25 years ago with Michael Jordan, was a mass hit with people in our generation. So I'm kind of curious, are people our age, do they have the nostalgia bug? Are they excited for this movie for that reason? And then I'm also kind of interested in the perspective of, the media is obsessed with comparing Michael Jordan to LeBron James. Who is the bigger star? And does this move the needle for you at all in terms of LeBron James being on that level of a pop culture icon as Michael Jordan? How do you compare the two? Or has LeBron maybe in your eyes already exceeded MJ? What does this movie do for you in terms of that angle and also maybe the nostalgia angle? Do you love to see this or hate to see this? And I'm going to go through the pictures while you talk.
Sure. I hate to see it. First movie, I didn't really care about it anyways. And this is a problem that the entertainment business has. They make sequels 20 years later, 30 years later. And, it would be good 15 years ago, but now I don't care. And LeBron, he's not the GOAT. That GOAT is Jordan. It will always be Jordan. LeBron had to chase championships, and he's lost like I think 3 or 4 times. But each time he leaves his team, there's no loyalty. He unites with superstars. And Michael Jordan never had to do that. He stuck with the Bulls and they won. So that's why he is my GOAT. And then one thing I saw on Twitter, people were making fun of the updated version of the girl. What's her name? Maybe you can tell me.
Lola Bub. I think it's Lola Bunny, which I'll get a picture of her.
Yeah, people were saying like there's no more sex appeal. Like the version from 25 years ago was much more attractive. I'm like, what? Seriously? It's a cartoon. Who cares about the sex appeal? But like, do you really want to fap to Lola Bunny? Like, I don't understand why people are making a big deal about this. But Mike, that's it. That's it for me. I hate to see it. What about you?
So I agree with you about what you just said about Lola Bunny. Like people were like, "Oh, this is them being like politically correct by like making her have smaller boobs." And it's like this is a cartoon for kids. Like what? Like why do you want a cartoon? Is that appropriate for children? Why are you getting so angry about them not sexualizing a cartoon that is targeted towards children? It's like some people just like I'm not someone who is likes cancel culture and politically correct culture and stuff like that, but some people can swing the pendulum too far in the other direction. If you're getting upset about them drawing a cartoon bunny like an appropriate depiction of that for in a movie for children, then you're kind of crazy in my opinion.
You are.
But that said, I also agree with you that I hate to see this. I was surprised how much I just don't care, because I remember when the first movie came out, it was such a big deal. Do you remember how famous Michael Jordan was? Like how big of a deal he was? And the media tries to make LeBron like today's version of that. And it's not even close. First of all, LeBron just does not have the natural charisma that Michael Jordan had. I can't see LeBron being able to pull off an acting role like this. Michael Jordan
No.
was good in commercials, and he was good in Space Jam. He's not an Oscar award-winning actor by any means, but he did a good job. So I don't think LeBron is nearly on the level of Jordan in terms of celebrity status. And part of it is we just live in a different world than we did 25 years ago. You got to remember, this was in the early days of the internet. Social media didn't exist. People still listened to music on the radio. We had cable. We did have cable television, but there were not nearly as many channels as there are today. There were not streaming services. So everyone was drawing from basically the same pool in terms of what we were watching to entertain us. And the NBA was huge back in the 90s because of Michael Jordan. Everyone knew who Michael Jordan was, even if you weren't a basketball fan. Everyone obviously knows who LeBron is, but it's not on that same level. Our society was obsessed with Jordan. So I don't know. I think the movie will probably do pretty well because it's going to be on HBO Max. It's a kids movie. I think it's going to get a lot of streams, but I don't think it's going to be the pop culture phenomenon that they want it to be. So I hate to see it. And that means that we truly hate to see it.
All right. Good one. Now, next one, Harry and Meghan. They're back in the news. They're still feuding with the royal family. Before I go into it, I think you made a bet. It wasn't with Harry, but another royal family member back in college. Can you remind me what that bet was?
Yeah, our friend JD, I don't know, we were just hanging out and it was, I think, right when they got married, William and Kate. And I said, they'll be divorced within 5 years. And we bet a case of beer on that. And I obviously lost that bet. And I did pay up. So, I didn't, I made good on the bet. That's all
Good.
that was.
No, I'm glad you made that. You came through. But basically, I don't know if you've heard this or not, but again, they're on the news. I think Meghan just did an interview with Oprah. So that's interesting. But really what's going on is it's like a feud. It's still going on. So the royal family, they're saying they're investigating because they believe Meghan was abusive towards like the staff when they were still part of the royal family. So my question is really about this. Do you love or do you hate to see it that Harry and Meghan have left the royal family? What are your thoughts on that?
I love to see it. I'm glad you brought this topic up, Sid, because I didn't know much about it. I had seen some headlines, but I didn't really dive into what was going on. But last night I went out to dinner with my brother-in-law, and my sister was talking about this, and she filled me in a little bit about it. So now I do actually know a little bit about it. I do have something to say. I think the royal family is stupid. I don't care about the royal family at all. Meghan and Harry, they just want to live their lives. They want to have nothing to do with it. I say good for them. Just let them live in peace.
Okay, that's good. I also love to see it. It's great. They're doing their own thing, just like you said. And it's crazy how the royal family keeps trying to drag them into a more of a feud. They're pissed. They're not happy that they left. So anytime they can like try to ruin their names, they do that. So I think that's more of that. It's kind of cool to see that because back in the day, well, not back in the day, but when this first happened, Oprah was trying to do an interview and Meghan said, I can't do it. And I think it's because the royal family censored her. They wouldn't allow her to do that interview. So it's interesting that they could do it now. But still, even though I love it and we truly love to see it, I'm kind of confused, Mike. If you're a girl, and I imagine a lot of girls growing up, they have a dream. I want to marry a prince. I want to marry a prince. Like, they really think about it and who actually gets to do that. So Meghan, who was successful in her own right, she was in that show Suits. She got to marry a prince. Like, that's a dream for a lot of girls growing up. But she said, F that. I'm married to a prince. We're getting the hell out of that family. So it's kind of interesting to see that she stepped away from that limelight. But you know what? This goes to show about that toxic stuff that's going on now with the royal family. So I'm glad that they did that. That's all I got to say about that. But I'm glad your sister brought it up yesterday, so you were more in tune with what I was going to bring up.
Yeah, and I did hear a little bit about how the royal family seems to be trying to spread rumors and turn people against Meghan and Harry. So, it's just like, come on, grow up.
Exactly. All right. Next.
So Sid, I think we've been on the same page. We are 3 for 3 in agreement today with these topics. Moving right along, this past Wednesday marks the 4th anniversary of the release of the Nintendo Switch and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. During that time, Nintendo has sold nearly 80 million units of the hybrid console / handheld system. And also this week, Bloomberg confirmed the long-rumored Nintendo Switch Pro will debut later this year. It's going to feature a 7-inch OLED screen, support 4K resolution in docked mode, and also support a longer battery life. So, Sid, I'm curious your thoughts on the Nintendo Switch. What are your thoughts on how it's done in the first 4 years of its life, and are you optimistic for its future given this Switch Pro that is coming out? Do you love to see this or hate to see this?
I love to see it again. You know why? The Switch is great, but my complaints have been it doesn't have 4K capability. It's not as strong as as the Xbox and PlayStation. So I play the Switch, when a very good game comes out, but I don't play it all the time. It's only when good games come out. And also, I used to travel with it, but the battery life was shit, right? So I was like, all right, maybe I need to spend $100, buy a rechargeable thing that I could, charge it as I'm playing. So I'm glad that they're finally going to increase the battery life. Hopefully it's real. Hopefully it's not like an hour. I wanted more, but it's cool that it's going to be 4K. So I'm very excited about that. I've been hearing rumors about this for a long time. Just give us a date. Just tell me when, because I will pay. I want that Pro. What about you?
Sid, I'm actually going to disagree with you on this one. Not strongly disagree, but I do hate to see this. When the Switch came out in 2017, it honestly had one of the best debut years in the history of video games, in my opinion. It had Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It had Super Mario Odyssey in the same year. 2 of the best games. It had Splatoon 2. It had a lot of other games to fill in those gaps. It just had such an amazing first year. It had a pretty good second and third year too. Last year, and part of this was due to the pandemic, but last year you had Animal Crossing, which is a game that I'm not a fan of, but I know is very popular. But other than that, you didn't have a lot from the Nintendo Switch. The release of AAA titles has really slowed down from Nintendo, which really disappoints me. Not that it's totally unexpected, but this is the first time where Nintendo in their history does not have to develop games for both their home console and their handheld system like the Game Boy or the DS. All their resources are devoted to this one system, the Switch. So I expect from them more games, and they really have not delivered on that. And the other thing with this Switch Pro is I'm glad it's coming, but it's 2021. Why is there a 720p screen on this system in 2021? That's just like inexcusable. Nintendo always does these head scratching things. So I hate to see this.
Yeah, if an iPhone can have 1080p, right? Why can't they?
There's just no excuse for it, Nintendo. Come on.
Ugh. All right, my turn. I had 2 I was kind of debating to go. My third one isn't as strong, but I want to talk about it. I don't know if you've heard or not, but Les Miles. All this stuff has come up these last week or so about his abusive behavior when he was with LSU. Now, what I like is Kansas immediately put him on administrative leave. As soon as all this came on, they didn't waste time. They put him on admin leave. So my question is, do you love to see that or do you hate it? Do you like that they quickly reacted or do you want them to have an investigation?
So, Sid, you're asking me something that I literally know nothing about. Like, I actually have not followed this story whatsoever. So, my gut reaction is I hate to see it. I hate it when schools or companies rush to judgment without doing the proper investigation. They should do the investigation, collect the evidence, and then, depending on what the evidence is, they should react accordingly. So, and I think that's probably what my take would be on this situation if I knew more about it, because that's my take on all situations like this. So I'm going to say hate to see it.
Okay, and that's a good point. I love to see it. there is no room for people that abuse their power. I am against that. And when you look at baseball, we just talked about this last week, I think. Mickey Callaway, they're doing an investigation. No one's acting on it. Sometimes they use that investigation as a crutch to delay things, and that pisses me off. And it seems like with sports culture, there is a lot of this that's going on. Not a lot, but it happens when people take advantage of the situation. It seems like Les Miles was a scumbag. Like LSU actually had to do things to prevent him being in the same room as females. Like that's not good. And then plus they eventually went their separate ways. So there must have been a reason. And I think they covered this up, which pisses me off. So I'm glad that Kansas, as soon as they heard, they quickly put him on admin leave. He seems like an asshole. I agree that there should have been an investigation, but I have no compassion for people who take advantage of other people. I do not like it. I hate it. Again, maybe they should do an investigation. I mean, yes, they should do an investigation, but there's nothing wrong. They didn't fire him. They just put him in admin leave, which is good. So I think they're still going to try to cover up. I'm not cover up. They're trying to still cover more things or discover more things. But really, it pisses me off that this is still happening in sports. I think people that are or sports teams that are successful, they will try to, help their coaches or star players. And we got to change that. There's no more room for that. If someone is a bad seed, get rid of him. So that's my take.
Yeah, Sid, you bring up admin leave, and that's another thing that I hate to see. I hate to see the way that the NFL has used admin leave, and I assume it's similar in college.
This is college. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I assume it's college, but I know I'm familiar with it in the NFL, where the purpose of admin leave was to deal with like an emergency situation that might come up where a player's unavailable to play, so the team can put this player on. Well, in NFL, I forget what the list is called. It's not called admin leave. They have a name for this list, and the purpose is you put this player on the list, and then you can get somebody else on the roster, and it's not going to count against your roster limit. So you're not going to have to cut this player on admin leave, and the person still gets paid while they're on admin leave. And what you've seen in the way the NFL does it, like Adrian Peterson and a number of other players, they get put on admin leave indefinitely because it's like the league just doesn't want to deal with this. It's like they don't want to punish the player because the union's going to get involved, and the union's going to be like, well, you have to have a fair investigation, and you have to come forward with evidence to prove that he did this. So the league doesn't want to do that. They put him on admin leave, and he still gets paid, and that makes it seem like to the media and to the fans like that the league is taking this seriously, but they're really trying to have their cake and eat it too. So this is another thing that I hate to see. Now, I do agree with you totally that this kind of behavior is intolerable. And if what you're saying is true, and like I said, I don't have all these facts because I'm just reacting based on what you told me. If what you're saying is true, then I would be in total agreement with you. But just in general, I don't like to see a rush to judgment. I like to see a more deliberative, cool-headed process, or and due process. Even though it's not a court of law, I do like to see something roughly equivalent to a due process that someone would get in a court of law. So overall, I'm gonna stick with my guns and say hate to see it.
And that's fair.
Okay, Sid.
By the way, what is that? Is that, sorry to interrupt? Is that a Star Wars shirt? Is that Vader?
Yeah, it's Darth Vader.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
So I've got one more, right?
Yes, you do.
Okay, I have another thing that I want to share with you. I just want to. I'm gonna get a blind reaction to this, and it's just a short video clip, and you just tell me if you love to see it or hate to see it.
You have the sharing bug today.
Oh yeah.
I share one thing now. You're all about it.
Sharing is caring.
That's right.
Okay. You see Paul Bettany on my screen?
I do.
Right. He was interviewed, I think it was yesterday on Good Morning America with Michael Strahan and George Stephanopoulos. Just this short clip I want to play and get your reaction to.
All right, let's go.
Here we go. Okay. Could you hear the audio last time when I was playing like the Jordan Spieth clip?
I forget. I think I did.
Tell me.
Let's just see it. Yeah. Is he talking?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't hear him. Maybe is it on?
Shit.
Can you hear the volume?
Yeah, I can hear it. I think I have to enable audio. Hold on a second.
That's fun. But yeah, as I was mentioning, last week I did, figure it out. But last week I did my Dunkin' Donuts segment, which took off in TikTok, believe it or not. And I think that helped us get a lot of views. So that's why we're going to start putting our not famous, but our funny clips on social media to help generate more views for our podcast.
Yeah, and maybe this will be one of them. I think it should work now.
Paul Bettany.
It's working.
Okay.
Vision himself, Paul Bettany. Great to have you back on GMA, Paul. Thanks for joining us. I didn't realize this until yesterday, but I guess the internet is pretty upset with you. You teased a big cameo on the show, said it was an actor you've longed to work with forever, had extraordinary chemistry. Then we see the cameo, and it's another version of your character. What's going on there?
Yeah. You know when you think something's going to be funny and you say it, and then you actually panic about it, which is what I did, because fans started guessing who it might be, and they were guessing people like Benedict Cumberbatch or Patrick Stewart, and I was thinking, my God, that's a good idea. And they're going to be so disappointed when they find out it's me.
But we're not sure, though. You could be trolling us right now. So is there a big appearance by someone?
Well, I'd love to answer that question, but my service keeps clicking.
Oh, no. That was good. That was clever. What?
Okay. Did you know what he was referring to there, Sid?
I'm glad you showed that clip because I haven't seen it. Yes, and I think is when it caused a lot of speculation. When he mentioned that, everyone was like, "Who's the big cameo? Who's the big cameo?"
Yeah, just to explain it to the viewers, what did he reference? What was the initial interview that everyone was buzzing about?
I don't remember the interview. You want to reference that? I just remember what was said.
He was just that's what I mean. He was in a prior interview. Paul Bettany mentioned that he had a scene in WandaVision with an actor who he has always wanted to work with in his whole career. So people were buzzing, people were speculating, who could this actor be? And the episode finally aired yesterday, the season finale of WandaVision, and we found out who that actor was. And just so the viewers are clear, this episode is full-on spoilers for WandaVision, full-on spoilers for the MCU. So if you are sensitive to spoilers, leave now, come back once you're all caught up on WandaVision. So Sid, what ended up happening in WandaVision? Who was this actor that he got to share a scene with?
Well, it was himself, basically.
Yeah.
Which pissed me off. And I wanted to talk about this, but I'm glad you did this perfect segue to our segment.
Yes.
So that worked. That was a great job, Mike. Yeah, now I was pissed. For weeks, you and I were chatting in a group chat with Scalise. We're saying, who is it going to be? Who is that actor? Who's that character? And then they have, what's his name? The guy who, you know what I'm talking about.
White Vision or Spectral Vision, they call him.
No. But the other actor who showed up, the speedster.
Oh, Evan Peters?
Yeah, Evan Peters. Exactly. So they had Evan Peters. So everyone's like, okay, that's cool. They're going to finally bring like the X-Men universe into the Marvel universe, which turns out to be fake too. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, people said this is going to be like the Star Wars cameo at the end of the Yoda show, the Baby Yoda. What's it called?
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Mandalorian spoilers also. I think some of our friends have not. You didn't mention who it actually was, the cameo. Don't mention it, because I know one of our friends at least has not watched it. We're not.
Well, screw you. Why haven't you watched it?
Yeah, screw you.
What the hell?
But we're not going to spoil Mandalorian, but we are going to spoil MCU and WandaVision. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but exactly. I was expecting a cameo on that level because that's what they said, and it did not happen. And so that pisses me off. And this is a tricky thing about doing interviews, because a lot of times what you say to people gets, people will take it and run with it. They get too excited. So you got to be careful. And obviously he thought it was funny. It didn't work out. People, I guess, were kind of pissed. But so I guess I hate to see it the way he did this. What about you?
So I love to see it because I thought it is funny. I kind of think it's funny when celebrities play these pranks on the media and the fans. It was kind of tongue in cheek. And last week, in the penultimate episode of WandaVision, they have the reveal that there are two visions, that the original Vision's body has been brought back to life by Sword. So I was watching some reactions from other channels that I follow that recap WandaVision, and I saw a bunch of them speculate that there's going to be a Vision versus Vision battle in the last episode of WandaVision. And several people said, hey, you know what? I bet Paul Bettany was referring to himself. It's going to be Paul Bettany and Paul Bettany in the same scene together. So I was prepared for it. Once I heard people say that, I was like, that must be what it is. So people did figure it out. A lot of people did figure it out. So I love to see it.
It's interesting. I never knew it was Paul who said that, actually. I just knew that they were saying there's going to be a huge cameo. So
Well,
maybe if I didn't.
Elizabeth Olsen also said that there was going to be a big cameo, which never, but she said it before Evan Peters was revealed as Quicksilver, as Pietro. So a lot of people just think that she was referring to Evan Peters.
And then it turns out that he is not even the X-Men version.
Yeah, so Sid, yes. Why don't we actually get into our topic of the week then?
Let's do it.
WandaVision. What did you think of WandaVision, Sid?
So overall, I thought it was great. I thought it was a good way to introduce us into Phase 4 of the MCU. Technically, this wasn't going to be the first one, right? Technically, it was going to be the other female superhero. What's her name? The movie that's got delayed.
Scarlet Witch. Black Widow.
No.
Black Widow.
Black Widow. Yeah, I can't. I'm forgetting names today. Well, I suck at names in general because names are for tombstones. But anyway, Scarlett Johansson, who is beautiful. I've always had a crush on her. Like her movie, I think technically was supposed to be the first, like Phase 4. That's been delayed because of COVID. So a lot of things are delayed. So at the end, I think it kind of helps that this was the kickoff to Phase 4. So it worked out maybe. But overall, I loved it. I thought it's been phenomenal. I thought last week's episode was better than this week's episode, honestly. And someone in IGN, they said last week's episode was a 6. Are you kidding me? A 6? Like that episode tied the whole series together, I felt like. Because it really showed us why WandaVision was structured the way it was. Because of her childhood. And that was a fantastic episode. It gave more depth into that character that we wanted. So again, how the hell do you give it a 6? Sometimes these reviewers are out of their mind. They just want to get views. Like, what the hell is that about? But overall, I loved it. But the finale, I'm sorry, and I know a lot of people liked it. I wasn't a huge fan. I wanted more. What about you, Mike? What were your thoughts?
So I loved WandaVision. I really liked the finale. I thought it was a great finale. Now, it's interesting. I was texting a few weeks ago with our friend Mike that we went to college with, who's also a big fan of Marvel and WandaVision. And I just asked him, it was just randomly. I asked him, why does Wanda have such an encyclopedic knowledge of the history of American sitcoms? Because she grew up in Sokovia, which is this fictional country that's supposed to be like a former Soviet country. She grew up in poverty. She lost her parents at a young age. She is later on experimented by Hydra. It's like, why would she have so much knowledge about sitcoms? And
Correct.
Last week's episode, the penultimate episode, actually addresses that. You see that her dad used to bring home tapes of old sitcoms and they would watch them. And it was the Dick Van Dyke Show that she loved, and Malcolm in the Middle, and several others. So that was why she had so much knowledge of sitcoms. So I thought that was a cool touch. I agree with you. That episode did a really good job of tying everything together. But I also really liked the finale. I thought the finale also, pretty much every question that people had over the course of the season was answered in WandaVision, with the exception of a couple mysteries that they leave for us in the post-credits scenes, which is exactly what they should do. They should leave us wanting more. But in terms of what is this vision, we get an answer to that question. What is the hex? We get an answer to the question. What's the deal with all the sitcoms? We get an answer. We get an answer to who is Agnes. We get an answer to Wanda's origin. What's the true source of her powers? We get an answer to who is Pietro, this guy who's played by the same actor as Pietro in the X-Men Quicksilver. We get an answer to who he is. So the
answer sucked though. I hated that answer.
Well, that's the thing. That's the problem in this day and age that we live in. The fans, they had all these theories. That's what happens with these shows. Is it's like crowdsourcing on the internet. People come up with their own theories. They read the tea leaves. They think they know what's going on in the show. And then the most popular theories, they, especially on websites like Reddit, they rise to the top. They get upvoted to the top. And then you read the theory, the best theory, and it's like, oh, wow, that theory makes perfect sense. And you have millions and millions of people agreeing with this theory so much that they believe that it must be true. And then when it turns out that it's not true, it's not what they wanted, it's not the show that they would have written, then they get mad and there's a backlash. And I actually saw an interview with the director of WandaVision where he said that he was worried that the fans were going to be disappointed in the last episode because the theories had just gotten out of control. People were expecting Professor X to show up and Magneto to show up and Doctor Strange to show up. But none of those things happened, but I'm totally okay with it because I thought just what Disney and Marvel have done with this show, it really, for me, it was like watching a 5-hour big budget movie spread out over the course of 9 weeks. I've never seen a show like this, Mandalorian included, with this level of production value. I thought the writing was incredibly good. You had the Lopez's write a lot of the songs in the show. The Lopez's are composers who have written songs for Disney movies, including Frozen and Frozen 2, and they wrote the Agatha theme song. It's been Agatha all along, and a few of the other songs in the show. Great song. So it's just everything was so good in this show, and it just all led up to this final episode. You have the two visions having a battle in the sky. You have Wanda and Agatha having a battle in the sky, and it was a whole spectacle. And you have Sword going into the hex and them having a showdown with Wanda's children and what's the Photon as well. It gets involved in the battle. So it really had the production value and spectacle of a big Hollywood blockbuster. I thought it was awesome. I really love to see it.
Again, it was great and people loved it. And I think people love anything Marvel. They just eat it up. They just enjoy it so much. But for me, when it comes to finale, I want the unexpected. I don't want it to be a clean wrap. Like, I get as fans, we want all our questions answered, but I thought it was just too of a convenient episode. Everything was just perfectly answered. We knew there was going to be 2 battles. We knew these things were going to happen. Everything that we expected basically happened. And like those sequences were great. Like, they really did a good job of executing them, which is, props to them. But again, there's nothing really too unexpected. Like, I just really thought the last episode was better. The 8th episode I thought was the best episode because, again, it tied things. It took us to the past at different things. This episode was just too convenient for me. I wanted more. Even the cameos, not the cameos, but even the stuff that happened at the end, which we'll talk about later, it just was too Disney for me. It was just them doing their thing so they can continue to make money. I just wanted something tragic, like not tragic, but something like out of left field to happen. Like, some of the best finales are ones that, as a viewer, we don't guess what's going to happen. Because I want the director, I want the writer to really take us to this journey and really surprise us and take it to the next level, which I didn't think this episode did. I think it was a perfect finale of the way it was composed and stuff, like what we expected, but I wanted something more. So that's the only reason why I didn't like it as much.
Yeah, well, the fans really, they didn't guess what was going to happen because all their theories turned out to be wrong. So the fans didn't guess what was going to happen.
I mean, they guessed that they were going to fight. We knew Agatha was going to fight against Scarlet Witch. We knew the two visions were going to fight after we saw there was two of them. Like that stuff we guessed. Like I thought that stuff, like we knew those battles and stuff with the asshole, the director was going to happen. Like those things we expected to happen, and they did happen. So that's what I'm referencing.
So Sid, I just want to go through with you a couple things in this final episode that I really liked. I thought was very well done, very creative, and maybe I could sell you a little bit on this episode.
Sure.
One thing was towards the end of the episode, you have the battle between Agatha and Wanda in the sky. And Wanda is shooting all her magic at Agatha, and it looks like Agatha is consuming the magic, and Wanda just keeps.
Did you say magic? Did you say magica at first?
I said magica, then I corrected
That's cool.
myself.
No, but that's cool because in video games, a lot of times it's magica.
Okay, yeah, I corrected myself. I just misspoke.
No, that's good though.
Yeah, and so essentially, Agatha has offered Wanda this deal where she's going to make this hex. Where Wanda has everyone under a spell so that she can live out her perfect sitcom life. She's going to perfect it so Wanda can live there forever. But the deal is that Wanda has to give Agatha all her powers. So Wanda is doing that. You think that she's actually accepting the deal. And then Wanda appears to lose all her powers. And then you see in the sky, there are two runes in the sky. And this was a reference to the prior episode where Agatha used runes on Wanda, and she explained to her that only the witch that casts the runes can use magic in that area. Yes. So Agatha actually couldn't use any magic. So Wanda tricked Agatha, and that's how she defeated her. So it was just
fantastic.
It was a perfect setup from the prior episode. I thought that was really well done.
You know what that reminds me of? Before you get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of Batman Begins when Ra's al Ghul keeps telling Batman, you have to be aware of your surroundings. And that's a really important life lesson. Like even in video games, when you and I play Apex, I'm like, you have to be listening. You have to be aware of what's going on. And at the end of that fight between Ra's, basically Batman tricked him, used his surroundings to defeat Ra's al Ghul. I don't know if you remember or not, but that's always been a cool thing. Like you always have to use what your villains try to teach you to your advantage. So I thought that was a really cool moment in WandaVision.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought that up.
Another thing I wanted to bring up, Sid, was the battle between the two visions. You have the vision that Wanda created, and then the vision, which was actually the original Vision's body, which was brought back to life by Sword, and they're battling with one another. And in the middle of this battle, I'll call it the fake Vision. I'll just call it Vision, and then White Vision is the one that Sword brought back to life. Vision brings up to the White Vision or the Spectral Vision, like your mission is to kill the Vision, but I'm not the Vision. And then he brings up this thing that I had never heard of. I guess it comes from Greek philosophy, the ship of Theseus, where it's kind of like this thought experiment. You have this ship, this boat, and the wood starts to rot, and people start to replace the rotting wood with new boards. And eventually every board on this ship is replaced with a new board. If it doesn't have any of the original material from the original ship, can you still call it the ship of Theseus, or isn't it actually a new ship in of itself? And then what if you took all this rotted wood that you took out of the original ship, you remove the rot from the wood, and you rebuild another ship? So that ship is built out of the original wood. Is that the ship of Theseus? And what Vision kind of concludes is that it's kind of a paradox where both visions are the real Vision, but both of them are not the real Vision. And then Vision unlocks the memories that are stored inside the White Vision, all the memories that Vision had from the prior movies, Age of Ultron and Civil War and Endgame and Infinity War and all his history with Wanda. So he never had those memories before. Now he has all those memories, and he just flies away, and we're left like, is he the real Vision? Is he not the real Vision? And that's going to be an interesting story going forward. And I thought the way they explained it with that ship of Theseus, philosophical question, I thought that was fascinating. And it's a very complicated thing, but they kind of explained it perfectly. I thought that was really well done.
That was the MVP of that finale. I thought that really tied everything together. The acting was top notch. Bringing that up, I loved it. I eat that shit up, and I'm glad you also brought that up. For me, that was the defining moment of the finale.
Cool. Sid, there were a couple quotes that stood out to me in this episode that I feel like are setting things up that's going to come down the line in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm going to read both of the quotes to you.
You've been prepared today. Look at this.
I have notes. I have notes jotted down on my iPad.
Wow.
I'm ready to go. So
this is fantastic, Mike.
Oh, you love to see it.
Truly love to see it.
Truly love to see it. During this aforementioned battle in the sky with Wanda and Agnes, when Wanda wins the battle, Agnes or Agatha says to Wanda, "You have no idea what you've done, and you're gonna need me." So just hold on to that for 1 second. Then I have one other quote. Right at the end of the episode, this was another fantastic moment that we didn't talk about. I thought was so touching when Wanda and Vision are putting the boys to bed as the hex is closing in. And then the final goodbye with Wanda and Vision, where Wanda tells Vision what he actually is. I thought that was fantastic. So touching. Such great acting by Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen. But the quote that stood out to me, because I thought it was just seemed out of place. I don't know what she was talking about, but as Wanda, after she tucks them into bed and is leaving the room, she says to the boys, "Thank you for choosing me to be your mom." So those two quotes, the first one from Agatha and then that second quote from Wanda, really stuck out to me because they seem to be foreshadowing things that are going to happen. What is your take on those two quotes?
Okay, so obviously something is going to happen in the later movies. Like, this is setting it up for phase 4 that we keep referencing. So now the question is, and by the way, the real MVP of the series was Elizabeth Olsen and Scarlet Witch.
She was awesome. Yeah.
She was fantastic. And I really want to talk about this before we go into your question. In the original Marvel movies, her character, we always knew, they said she's the strongest superhero, right? And even in interviews, they say she's the strongest. And we see glimpses of that, but we don't get deep into her story. Like, she was always kind of like a B. Like, on that tier of superheroes, she was like the tier B.
Yeah.
As far as fan favorites and stuff like that. But I thought this series really elevated her to the top echelon. There's so much potential with her. We know more of her backstory now. At the end, you finally see her full outfit. Because I think in the other movies, you really don't see her dressed up in a superhero outfit. Am I wrong? Right? I think
she has an outfit, which is kind of this weird leather outfit.
Yeah.
It was sort of a costume, but they reveal her. Finally, they reveal her Scarlet Witch costume, which I thought was amazing.
And you know what? I made that joke in our text, at the end of, I think, was it episode 7 or 8? I forget, where they say Scarlet Witch at the end of the episode. And I was like, wow, that's the big reveal. And I was joking because we always knew she was a Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think it still was great. It was a reveal because we actually got to see the Scarlet Witch finally.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's definitely an introduction, and I want more. But back to your question, something has been unleashed. And can I talk about the end scene when she's doing? I mean, it's connected with the book, right? Can I mention that? Or
yeah, absolutely. I think it all ties together. I agree with you.
And I don't have the stats like you do. Scalise was the first one to mention to us. What's that book called again that they're using? I forget.
Dark Hold or something like that.
Exactly.
So yeah,
she's diving deep in it. It's looking scary. Something is being brought out of hiding. Maybe that's not the proper term, but some villain, some entity, something's happening. And I think that's going to be happening in one of my favorite superheroes. What's the movie I'm talking about that's coming eventually? The sequel of Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
So I think Scarlet Witch, I think it's confirmed. Maybe it's not, but she's going to have a big role in that movie. We got to talk about that, but it looks like you got a Doctor Strange, which is cool. I wanted you to have a different one today.
I got the Doctor Strange one.
You do, but we have to talk about your mugs later. But yeah, I think she's unleashing a villain or something that's going to come out on that Doctor Strange movie. So I'm excited about that. But I don't really know what she meant by thank you for picking me. I don't. What does she mean for picking me?
I mean, everyone wants it to be the multiverse. So whenever there's some kind of mystery, people are like, oh, that's got to be the multiverse. So some people think that. Well, I think for one thing is her kids are actually real. Like they're on some level they are real. So it seems like some entity or two entities actually was her children, and people are speculating maybe they came from the multiverse, and there must have been some choice. They must have chosen to be these children. I don't know what it means. I just thought it was the line stood out to me.
And the Doctor Strange movie is called something with multiverse, right? The new one?
In the multiverse of madness.
Exactly. So I really think, like, do you think she's gonna be the villain? Or do you
She
think
was the villain in that's another thing I want to talk about.
Yeah.
She was the villain in this show.
She was. Yeah, that's a good point. You want to talk about that right now?
Yeah, a lot of people are bringing this up as a source of criticism of the show, which I think is a legitimate criticism. Wanda essentially takes over this town. She puts everyone under a spell and has them play out roles in her sitcoms. And we learn over the course of the show that these people in this town are actually being psychologically tortured. They are experiencing Wanda's grief. They're not under control of their bodies. Their children are locked in their houses. Like what Wanda did to these people is horrible. What?
I think we're having some lag. I don't know. Go ahead.
Oh, it says my connection is unstable, but I'm back now. Okay, I think it's good.
You're back.
So yeah, Wanda was essentially torturing these people, and in the final episode, the town people actually confront her and they beg her to let them free. And the woman, I forget her name, from that 70s show, the mother from that 70s show, actually says to her, just let us go or let us die, kill us. She says, kill them. Like that's how badly Wanda is torturing these people. And then at the end of, I want to see if I jotted down this quote. Oh yeah, at the end of the episode, she walks through the town, all the people are free, and she walks and she goes and talks to Monica, who is now Photon. She has powers now. And Monica says to Wanda, they don't know what you sacrificed to save them, referring to like she sacrificed her family to save them. But she's the one that put them in this situation. So like why would they care? And Monica essentially says, like, if I had your kind of powers, I would probably do the same thing and bring my mom back to life. It's like she was sympathizing, and Wanda like did something terrible. She did something unforgivable. It's like they're arresting the sword guy, the head sword guy. They're like, oh, he's in handcuffs.
Tyler Hayward.
Sucks to be him, but it's like, why is no one trying to arrest Wanda? So that's kind of the criticism. Why is Wanda being forgiven? But the way I kind of look at it is the way the show explains it is, first of all, I don't think it's trying to justify Wanda's actions, because it does show the consequences of her actions. And the way it kind of explains it is she is experiencing such enormous grief that she really wasn't in complete control of the choices that she made
and her powers.
So and also they also established that Wanda is now more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme himself, Doctor Strange. So it's like, are you going to arrest the most powerful being in the universe? Obviously you're not going to arrest her. So it's like, all right, I thought it worked fine. but I do understand that criticism.
Well, one thing I want to add, and this happens with a lot of superheroes, like their origin stories. When they first uncover their superhero skills or powers, they don't know how to harvest it. And a lot of time, a lot of bad happens because of it. Like they mess up. And I think that's kind of with Wanda as well. And she hints at it. She's like, I'm now finally going to truly understand and know my powers better. I forget exactly what she says, but I think that's part of the superhero growth. Like she's discovering these powers, and because of all that grief, she had this bad stuff happen. So now I think she's really trying to uncover who she really is as Scarlet Witch. Yeah. And I think that's what's coming.
Yeah, and you see that in the very last scene, the very last post-credit scene, where she's just going about her life. We don't know exactly where it is. It looks like she's maybe in a country like Switzerland or something like that. You see some snowy mountains in the background. And but then in another room, we see that she's actually casting an astral projection of herself, and she's reading this book, and she's studying magic, which is similar to a scene we saw in Doctor Strange, where Doctor Strange also cast an astral projection to learn magic in a very fast and efficient manner. So it seems like she is going to take it to the next level with her powers. And we also hear the voices of her sons cry out to her in that final scene. So that, I think, also probably ties back to that quote that I brought up before about
thank you
for choosing me. So that just kind of indicates that they're obviously not gone. Like, so it's going to be a mystery going forward.
And you have to believe that Doctor Strange is aware that she's using these powers in this book, right? Like he's supposed to protect us from these things, right?
Yeah.
So he's obviously aware. So this is definitely tying into that movie. Like I can't wait for the sequel to Doctor Strange. I actually have a Doctor Strange Funko Pop, and I love the actor Benedict Cumberbatch. She's phenomenal. So I just can't wait to see how they're related in that movie. I'm excited for that.
Cool. Yeah, I'm really excited for that one as well, Sid. The other thing I really wanted to talk about quickly is the other post-credit scene. Can you recap that for us?
Sure. And I was gonna actually complain about that. Like, I feel like we've been getting this scene in several movies now.
Oh, they do it all the time.
But no, but I mean, like this specific with the what's those aliens called again?
Skrull?
Yeah, I think Skrull. But they've basically been hinting at the
It's Skrull. It is Skrull.
They've been hinting at the secret invasion for several scenes, like several post-credit scenes.
Yeah.
Like they've been building this secret invasion. I think that's what it's called. But
yeah.
They keep showing it, and this is another scene to show it again. Like, how many times do you have to show it? Like, I want to see it already. I want to see this movie, but
it's a show actually. Secret Invasion is going to be a Disney Plus show.
Interesting.
With Sam Jackson and I think the girl who plays Photon, and also I believe Ben Mendelsohn, who plays Talos.
Correct, exactly. So they've been hinting at that for a while. So it's basically just another quote comes down and says to her, like, you know, he wants to meet with you, right? I think that's what she says.
Yeah, and he's probably, I assume, referring to Nick Fury, right?
Yes, or maybe Ben.
Maybe Talos. Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously she's gonna meet Captain Marvel, right? She potentially will meet her, who was friends with her mother.
Yes, that's gonna have to happen, probably in Captain Marvel 2.
World 2. So they're definitely building this actress up. I think she did a fantastic job as Monica Rambeau, I think her name was.
Yeah.
And then it changed to Geraldine or whatever it is, Photon now. But they're definitely building up this actress. Like, I'm excited to see, you know, she's definitely gonna be involved in several different projects. I was, you know, again, I how many times do you have to show a similar scene like that? It's cool. I'm excited, but like, just show me that TV series already. What were your thoughts on that scene?
I'm kind of with you. It was nothing major, but it is teasing. It is teasing the secret invasion show, which should be cool. I thought it would have been cool if it was actually Ben Mendelsohn. Why did they get him? Why did they get him to be that Skrull character?
Exactly. Yeah. That was a missed opportunity because I don't think We haven't seen this other woman that came, right? Was that the
So-
first time we've seen her?
So honestly, no. As far as I know, that's a new character.
Correct.
Now, just let me ask you this hypothetical question. Just imagine the episode, the final episode was the exact same episode that I just told you, and except there's only two changes. One change is in the first post-credit scene. It is Ben Mendelsohn instead of that woman Skrull character.
Yes.
Second change is it's the same scene, except when they get to that back room where Wanda is doing an astral projection, it's Doctor Strange next to her also doing an astral projection. And those are the only two changes, and that's the end. Would you have had a different opinion?
Yes, I would have loved it.
Love to see it, right?
Truly love to see it. Again,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted. I wanted the unexpected. I wanted that extra thing to excite me, make me really pumped.
Yeah, I wonder why they could have done that, and they wouldn't have had to pay these actors much because these are literally like 2-second scenes. Like, it's just like, why didn't they think of that? That would have been really cool, and I think you would have had a lot of fans having a much different reaction to this final episode.
That's true. One thing I wanted to bring up, I didn't realize this. Dirk brought this up in our group chat, and Dirk still claims he hasn't seen our podcast. What the hell?
Hate to see it.
You truly do. But he mentions that the director of this TV series, has hosted or directed the most It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episodes, something along that line.
Yeah, I think he did say that. Yeah.
So he was like, how hilarious would it have been if one of the episodes had a It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia type of vibe. Like, I would have loved it. I don't know how they would have fit that in, but that's pretty cool. I'm glad Dirk brought that up. I hope it's an SNL skit where they do a Wanda episode in the vein of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, because that is one of the most hilarious TV shows. I love that. I think that would have been pretty neat.
Yeah. Sid, I think we did a pretty thorough recap of WandaVision. Do you have anything to add?
As far as Wanda, no. Great show. In 2 weeks, we have the next. It's pretty crazy. Like, we don't have to wait. We get the next Marvel show coming in 2 weeks. It's what's it called?
The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Are you excited for that?
Yeah, hell yeah, I'm excited for it.
Me too. Like, I really want to see both actors and both characters I loved, but I wanted to know more about them. So I can't wait to see them together. Sebastian, I think the other guy's
Sebastian Shaw or Staw,
something like that.
And then Anthony Mackie.
Yeah, I'm really pumped about that. I think that's gonna have more action than this series. Not that this series didn't have action, but 2 weeks away. Like, how freaking exciting is that?
Yeah, and it should be a very different vibe from WandaVision. More traditional Marvel fare. Yeah, I think, like you said, more action, more like a thriller, spy kind of thriller. Like, I hope it's like Winter Soldier. I mean, that's one of my favorite Marvel movies. That one had kind of like a James Bond vibe. I think it would be cool if it had that kind of vibe.
Yeah, no, it would be. But as far as Wanda, great kickoff to Phase 4. I can't wait for Scarlett Johansson's movie. They keep changing the date because of COVID. So hopefully we can see that in theaters soon.
Yeah.
You got anything to add on this topic?
Sid, I don't have anything to add. Great job.
But before we close, it's an exciting weekend, Mike. A lot is happening this weekend, and I'm pumped. And I want to talk about it really quick. It is a combat sport weekend. And what I mean by that is tonight we have UFC, and I'm really pumped. 3 belts are on the line. And I know you don't watch UFC, but we're going to have an episode on it. But one of my favorite fighters, Israel, I can't pronounce it, Adesanya, who I don't call him. His nickname is Stylebender. His other nickname is Izzy, who was a friend of ours in college, but he is trying to become champ. So I'm pumped about that. 3 belts are being defended tonight. UFC 259. I can't wait. And tomorrow, AEW, they're having their pay-per-view Revolution. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but I'm excited. I got my Bullet Club shirt, but I want to end on this question, Mike.
Okay.
And everyone's been asking this question. Who is the wrestler that's going to make his debut tomorrow night? If you had to guess, who are you picking right now?
CM Punk.
That would be amazing.
I think he's finally coming back.
Tony Khan, you know I love you. Please make a huge reveal. Please make it someone good. I don't want like a tier C or TB character or wrestler. I think it's going to be Christian. I'd be pumped. I love Christian. I know you'll get pissed because he's leaving Vince. Well, I think, go ahead.
Well, Edge is back in WWE. I want, because Edge, he's older now. He's had some serious injuries. I'm excited for his match with Roman Reigns. I hope he wins the title. I hope he has a little bit of a run with the title. But after that, I don't want him to be doing these crazy singles matches. I would love for him to reunite with Christian as a tag team. I think that would be awesome to see their reunion, and it would be safer for the both of them.
It would be safer, but you know what always pisses me off? Edge always gets the limelight. Christian always does not. And Christian is regarded as one of the best and smartest, most intelligent wrestlers out there. Wrestlers love him, and he deserves to have another title run. And he knows he's not getting it right now because of Edge. I feel like Christian should be in that position. So I'm hoping Captain Charisma debuts in AEW tomorrow. But lastly, we have an exploding barbed wire death match tomorrow night.
What is that?
Exactly. What is that? With two of the greatest wrestlers right now.
Let me guess who's in it. Is Moxley in the match?
You bet he is.
Is Kenny Omega in the match?
He is in the match.
Okay, who else is in it?
It's just them.
Okay.
It's for the
I had
title.
No idea. I just guessed. I figured it had to be them,
nice.
Though. Yeah.
But again, if you want to see something crazy, tune in tomorrow night. I think Moxley will lose, and they'll ride him up because his wife is having a baby soon. So I think that's why they're having this crazy match. I can't wait. Exciting weekend. Are you pumped for this weekend? Anything going on in your life that you're excited for?
Not in terms of sports. I'm at my parents' house. My parents are actually on vacation right now. They got the second dose of the vaccine, and the first thing they did was go to Disney World. So that's
really?
where they are. Yeah, that's where they are right now.
Wow.
My sister is taking care of their dog. So me and my brother came down this weekend just to hang out and visit, and we went out to dinner last night. So we're just having some good family time this weekend.
Has he watched a podcast?
I have to ask him about that. I did send
watch it.
I did send it to him. Maybe I'll make him watch this week's episode because he's a big fan of WandaVision. So yeah, it'd be cool to hear what his thoughts are. We actually watched it together last night, so he was a little disappointed like you were.
Good. I think I'm glad we agree on that, but please tune in, Pat. It'd be good to have as many views on our podcast as possible. Great job, Mike. I think that's a wrap.
I think that's a wrap, Sid. I did want to leave with just one quick little story that I just thought of from earlier today. I was going for a little walk again and stopped into a 7-Eleven because I just had a hankering for a Coke and a Snickers. And I was just looking at the prices, and it just made me remember how much cheaper things were when we were kids. I remember you could walk into a store with $1 and you could come out with 4 sodas and 5 candy bars, a bag of chips, a pack of gum. These days, there's just too many cameras.
Good point.
All right, Sid, that's all I got.
Take care, folks.